please welcome my old friend, Moon Unit Zappa.
Drew, it has been a minute.
Oh my God, finally, I know. And because you gave such validity to this accent when you made that song. Okay, so if the last name didn't give it away, you know, your dad is the great Frank Zappa. And it's so wild. You know, I grew up, so many, like, forming years of my life were spent around you and your family. But you had already done that song by the time I was in and around hanging out. What was the story of, like, how that song came about? Because you talk about it in the book.
It was actually a very difficult time. There was a public me, a family me, and a private me. And so what had happened was my father would tour for 8 to 9 months out of some years. And then when he would come back home, he'd be sleeping during the day and then working at night. And I'd had enough of that by the time I turned 13. And so I slid a note under the door. I figured out he likes to be in that studio an awful lot. So I said in the note, perhaps we could work together. Maybe I could do that funny voice you seem to like. You can contact my manager, a.k.a. Gail.
Which is your mom.
Right. So I was introduced to my parents as Frank and Gail, and so that's what we called them since we were fresh out of the oven. And so I slid the note under the door, and I said, and you can contact Gail. And I don't think he had our phone number, but I then got woken up on a school night one night, and when the maestro calls, that's when you go. So I go downstairs, we record a few tracks, and then that was it. To me, it was just amazing time with my father. And then, and then a few months later, he said, "I'm going to put it on the album." Ship arriving too late to save a drowning witch. And what was on the other side of that was so it was this huge hit for him. He'd already made something like 30 albums at that time. He was in his 40s. And he'd not had any FM radio success. So that's what happened. He was on tour, and so I started doing the promotion. In the book, I take readers through the journey of is genius worth the collateral damage, and then how do you raise yourself in an environment where you're parentified, and then when you become a parent, how do you become a parent without a map? And what was wild was Gail.
I can't relate to any of this. Go on.
So Gail, when your mother is your first bully, it's hard to manage this. And so Gail told me that specifically with Valley Girl that that improvisation is not writing. So therefore, I didn't write anything. I had no contribution to this song. So publicly, it's the most famous thing my father's ever done. And privately in my home, I'm treated like I didn't do any work. And she said, the only reason why you got money is because I signed some paperwork for you. And so I had to hold all these things and then be out in the world just going like, and so I think that's revisiting all of that was really, I was like.
Growing up in your house, there was so much freedom. There was so much autonomy.
That's a nice reframe.
Yeah, right?
Neglect, autonomy. Yeah,
exactly.
Frank was such a prolific cheater that she went cuckoo from...
He did?
Oh, yes, he did.
Oh, my God, that makes sense now, thinking about it. Oh, my God. Because I knew there was some crazy stuff going on, which is why I felt so comfortable there. I was like, this is my kind of joint. Jesus. Bring on the loony. I feel real comfortable and safe here.
I met your mother.
Yeah. You did know my mom. And she's, I love my mom. I'm so grateful to her because if she hadn't, allowed me to go and explore all these areas, then I wouldn't have figured out who I was. But when it came to me being a parent and people would come out with what I felt defensively was kind of righteousness, like as if there was a right way, they would always talk about boundaries. Well, boundaries. You've got to have boundaries. Well, that requires a boundary. Why aren't you setting boundaries? You're not putting the right boundaries. Well, you know, all you have to do is set boundaries. What does that word mean? Mm-hmm. What is a boundary? Yeah. What are you talking about with this conviction and experience and knowledge that I'm supposed to have that I don't? Did you have any?
So as a parent, I had to refer to, mirror neurons. I was like, who knows how to actually do empathy? Who knows how to actually be a good parent? My first thing was just don't do anything my parents did. In my case, I had front row seats to such complex situations that I found a way to have empathy for everybody in the house. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because my mother, her father died when I was in utero. And I really do think that made a big difference because I got flooded with the grief hormone. And I have like a hypersensitivity. My name is Moon. And I took it seriously. I thought, I'm supposed to reflect my father's sunlight and have no light of my own.
Do you think that we also are so determined to be these capable moms